everything changed when I had a moment alone in my apartment when I heard a voice here in my heart ask me, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And
welcome to your podcast, Successful Quitters by Sara Núñez B.
Would you rather have pizza and a movie or girls' night out?
Oh, girls' night out.
Okay, what about, would you rather have $1 million in cash or in real estate?
Real estate.
Good answer. Would you rather have more knowledge or more support?
That's an excellent question. More knowledge or more support? More support.
That's a tough one, huh? Because they're both important.
Yeah, they are.
Nice. So today I am very grateful to begin another episode number 7 of this Successful Quitters show. This is a podcast that explores the different things individuals have had to quit in order to become successful in their arena. And we have a great guest. She's an author. She's the founder of the Pajama Program, a nonprofit that has been recognized worldwide. She has been interviewed on CNN, Oprah, Fox, Forbes, The Wall Street Journal, amongst many others. She's an international speaker and a personal strategic coach. Her name is Genevieve Piturro. Welcome, Genevieve.
Thank you. This is so nice. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Let's jump right into it, Genevieve. Tell me about Genevieve at 5 years old. Where were you at? What was life back then?
5 years old, I had curly ringlet hair. I was a little chubby. I think I was a little shy. I was the firstborn of 4 to a dad who came off the boat from Italy and a mom whose family was from Italy. I think I was spoiled by my grandmother. I like to have fun. I think I remember I giggled a lot when I was 5. And yeah, and I was just trying to, have a wonderful, fun life, and, probably did.
Yeah. And do you speak Italian?
Un po' piano piano.
Oh, nice. I only speak Spanish, so I couldn't. I'm assuming that was just a little?
A little and slowly, yes.
Ah, very good. So at least you could possibly get by. Have you been to Italy?
Yes, I've been several times. Yes, it's beautiful.
Do you love it? Yeah.
I do.
Have you been to the place where your parents are from?
Yes, both. Yes, my father came from a little tiny town, and it's become very popular. It's called Matera. When we visited, it was not popular. It was still a very small town, and they didn't have many modern conveniences. But now it's a big, hot tourist spot. And my mom's family's from Sicily, and I did visit.
And you still have family there, I'm assuming?
Yes, mostly in Italy, not much in Sicily.
Ah, okay. And did you have siblings at that age? Or
yes,
not yet?
well, at that age, there were 3 of us. And 4 years later, when I was 9, my youngest brother joined the family. So there are 4 altogether now.
And they were boys, girls?
I'm the girl, then there came a boy, then there came a girl, then there came a boy. 2 and 2.
Oh, that's how it is in my family. Boy, girl, boy, girl. Very nice. And what do you recall was your favorite activity back then? Obviously playing, but is there anything in particular that you liked doing when I came to that age?
When I was 5, let me think if I can remember. I probably liked to dress up because I have a lot of pictures where my mom dressed me up. So I've really embraced style and some funky stuff. So I think when I was little, I liked to get dressed up and play dress up.
Oh yeah, which many girls do. And that's a beautiful age for sure. What is who was the kindest person around you growing up?
My mom was always full of love. I would say definitely my mom.
Okay.
I
Was
had an
she your
aunt.
hero?
She is my hero. She is, yes, yes. And
Oh,
her
nice.
sister, her only sibling, was my godmother, and she was younger than my mom, so she was. I was like her doll sometimes.
Oh, I love it. And what was high school like? Were you very friendly? What was that age range? You know, when you're a teenager, things change a bit. Especially you have siblings, a lot of things change at that time.
True, true. I was not very confident. I wanted to be popular and I wanted to be a cheerleader. I was not. I was smart, so I was a nerd. I hung out with all the nerds, and it worked for me. And I'm glad now. But at the time,
Right.
I wanted more friends. I wanted to be in the popular groups, and so I sort of struggled with self confidence, and like most people, lots of girls did at that age.
Yeah. Yeah, and kids can be cruel, girls can be a little bit difficult. Was there any sport that you played, or was it mostly knowledge that you were always working on?
Yes, no, I was terrible in sports. One reason
Yeah.
I was so terrible was because I should have been wearing glasses, and I didn't want to wear glasses,
Ah,
because it's attractive to wear glasses. So I couldn't see the ball in all the sports that we played. And
yeah.
that was so nerve-wracking because I was not good, and that was another reason I didn't have confidence. So I always tried to make an excuse not to show up, or just, wait to be struck out or wait to miss the ball.
Yeah, wow, that must have been harsh at that age, because right now we see it as something that's small, but when you're living through it, it had to have such a big impact in your life. As it, I wasn't good at sports either. So it's hard to really be popular when you're not, because that's where everyone's going.
And that's where the
But
boys want, be. So,
that's yeah.
that was disappointing because I wasn't very good and I was embarrassed. But yeah, you're right. It's looking back, it's such a small thing. But when you're living every day, dreading gym and dreading being embarrassed, it's overwhelming.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what city did you live then? Was it always New York that you were?
Yes, the city that I grew up in is called Yonkers, and it's a suburb,
Mm,
and it's a big city, and we had I think 5 high schools, and so it was a big city. There were rivalries and everything, and yeah, it was. My mom still lives there, and I'm not too far from there now, so it's still this similar suburban area.
yeah, nice. And how did you choose your major in college?
I was good at writing, so
Mm,
I wanted to be a journalist, and but it was that was boring to me, just be a journalist. So I wanted to get into the entertainment business. So I thought if I could write, I could find a way in. And so I studied communications, and I wanted to have writing as part of my career.
and that's how you started. Did you love it when you were going through the process of learning and sharpening your skills?
I did. I did. I came out of my shell in college. So when I
Mm,
was studying there, life was better socially. And I got to live it on campus. So that changed too. And I worked at the radio station, or I should say, I volunteered. We all volunteered at the radio station. The school had a very large radio station, as big as some commercial ones, 50,000 watts. And I worked and volunteered there, and I had my own show and I would write.
oh,
So
wow.
yeah, the world opened up for me in
Everything
college.
changed.
Everything
Nice.
changed. Yes.
I love it. I love how I think also knowledge, the fact that you knew so many things at that point, you had things that related to other people and things that you could talk about with others. And when
Right.
you're younger, it's the sports. You have nothing in common. So it's like we're in definitely different times where you can take advantage of it a little bit later. And then you went to fully work in marketing, correct?
Yes, in the television business in New York. So I did use what I learned in college, and I did work in the media business. So that worked out well.
Yeah. And how long were you doing marketing for
12
the
years.
television? How many?
12.
Very nice. And did you don't have any children,
I don't.
correct? Are you married?
Yes, 25 years this year.
Oh, very nice. I love it. And when you have made choices, because now we're gonna jump into a different stage of your life, which I think is beautiful. Your story, I think, is amazing and it's very empowering. Was your husband supportive of your choices?
I had just met him, and
Hmm.
I didn't have any desire to get married while I was a workaholic, while I was working in TV. I wanted to just be successful and have status that I thought that would bring me. So I was really busy, and I did enjoy being single and traveling and and working day and night because it felt exciting. So
Yeah,
when everything changed and I had that moment that
yeah.
changed everything, he was pretty new in my life. And that
So he
was
didn't have much. Sorry, so he didn't have much of an input just yet.
no, but he did soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very nice. And so tell us about your books. You have two books, right?
hmm hmm
Right now, you're running the nonprofit, and we'll definitely touch a little more in detail on what your nonprofit is about. But tell us a little bit about the books.
sure. Let me just clarify. Pajama Program is the name of the nonprofit, and when we continue talking, I can tell you how that came about, that aha
Yeah,
moment. But I ran it as executive director for the first 20 years, and then I wanted to write my book, and I wanted to speak about the bigger purpose of helping others find their purpose and giving back contribution and inspire people to do what their heart was calling them to do, because so many of us are doing something that we didn't really think was going to be fulfilling. We just thought I need a job. So I passed the baton of executive director to a woman who is now running Pajama Program, and she was the president
mm,
of our board. And she said, if you ever are thinking about passing the baton and writing a book and speaking, then I would love to take over. So I gave her my salary. I passed the baton. So now we're friends, and we catch up, and I know everything that's going on. And of course, my story is always about starting Pajama Program and the lessons learned to inspire other
yeah,
people. So I did write my book finally when I asked her to run the organization. And it's the ups and downs of everything from the moment I I started to work and what I was looking for as far as success and how I was raised, and you know, to I felt being a daughter of an immigrant dad and very traditional mom together, that they expected me to get married and have kids. That's pretty much what I thought they expected of me. And I was right, they did. So when I decided to follow my different path of being the single woman, buying her own apartment in a big city and working like a like a workaholic,
yeah,
um, that was great. And I talk about it in the book, but everything changed when I had a moment alone in my apartment, when I heard a voice here in my heart ask me, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And that began a whole new path that I wasn't expecting, a path that did
yes,
involve children, not having them, but bringing them into my life. And as maybe
Genevieve,
you, yes.
this brings me to the question of, was not having children a plan that you had? Was this a choice, or was it the fact that it was just not happening at that point and you just moved on from it?
There wasn't anyone that I wanted to have children with or get married to. So I was perfectly happy with what I was doing. And if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. I did not have the ticking clock like some of my friends did. That was
Yeah.
not something that I was striving for. I felt like if it was going to happen, I would know it. And if I knew it, then I would follow my heart. But the moment in my apartment where I heard that voice in me took me on a different path. And I recognized soon that that might have been the plan all along from the universe and God, that I would bring children into my life a different way.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So, so beautiful. And very giving to women out there, especially in this era where myself, I do not have children. And I feel the same way, that not everyone is meant to have them.
Right.
And, everyone's journey is completely different. So now that we're here, how was the timeline from this thought to your experience? Tell us how it evolved from this time to the time where you were asked the question that
Mhm.
completely changed the path of your life.
Well, as you can imagine, it really shocked me first to hear a voice ask me that profound question, and having to take an honest look at my choices and to figure out why I heard this whispered voice, where it was coming from, and being afraid that maybe I missed having children. But immediately I said, I think this voice is telling me there's another path. Police and social workers took out of dangerous situations, living with people that were hurting them. And I thought, maybe that's how I can show my love. Maybe that's how I can comfort these children. And I started to visit emergency shelters and read stories to them at bedtime. And it felt so different than the workaholic life I had. Now, I couldn't
Mm.
quit my job, or at least I thought I couldn't quit at that point, because I had a mortgage, I had bills, I was on my own. So I struggled with my life path for a while. And in my book, I talk about that, because how do you reconcile? I want to quit my job because all I can think about is being with these children, and I don't know how I will pay my mortgage, but I want to think about that, and how am I going to tell anybody what I'm trying to figure out, because they're all going to think I'm crazy and tell me I'm being ridiculous. So I struggled alone with that for quite some time, and that was a difficult time for me.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's something that entrepreneurs struggle with, maybe not when it comes to children being their passion, but any other thing that is your passion. You're always thinking, should I leave the one thing that's stable or safe for the one thing that really is in my heart?
Right?
And
What are
then
people
so
going
you
to
can,
say?
the what?
And what are people going to say?
What are people gonna say? Are they gonna say I'm insane and be right? That's the
Yes,
thing. Are they going to say I'm crazy and be totally correct? I'm
yes,
going to regret it. It's so many
right.
things. Yeah. And then
Mhm.
you went from this to that one day when that girl asked you a question. How did that play out?
Yes. So I would read once a week in different places. So 2 or 3 times a week, I'd go to a different shelter with books and read to the children. And I felt very connected to them. And one night, I wanted to see where they were taking these children to go to sleep. And these children had been traumatized, and they were supposed to be in the emergency shelter just for a day or two until the the courts and the caregivers could find a more stable place for them. So they were literally in limbo. And
Mm.
you could see because they were wearing clothes that the police or social workers took them out of their home in. They're wearing them, and they were frightened. You
Wow.
could tell by their demeanor. So I was curious where they were sleeping. And so I followed where they were taking them to go to sleep in another room. And when I saw the futons and the couches and that they were just being helped up to, lights out, go to sleep, I thought, oh my goodness. And I kept having these memories of my mom putting me to bed, my sister and my brothers in their room. And it was just a beautiful time. And I'd never thought about my bedtime before in all my 30 plus years until that moment. And I remembered the cookies and milk, and I remember the laughing, and I remember the stories, and some she'd read from a book and we'd want more, so she'd have to make some up, and laughing and kissing and pulling up the covers to our chins, and pajamas, big deal to put on your pajamas. And that's what stuck out. I was looking at these children in the same clothes they'd been wearing, and they were squirming because they were uncomfortable, they were tight and
Mm.
soiled. And I asked if I could bring pajamas the next week. And I remember that I even thought to myself, that was strange that I asked that question, but I understand why. That was what was top of mind in that moment. And they said, yes, that'd be lovely. No one thinks of pajamas. So I brought them.
Mm.
And I was really excited to give them to the kids after I read. And I gave them to the children, who were very quiet, but they took them and went into the room to sleep. But one little girl was so afraid of me, and I didn't know why.
Mm.
She kept backing away from me, and she didn't want to take them. She didn't want me to get close to her. And it really puzzled me, and it really, I thought, my goodness, what's happening here? And the other children didn't react so vehemently. So I tried one more time at the end, and I got on my knees, and I showed her this pretty pair of pink pajamas, and I said, honey, these are pink pajamas that I think will fit you perfectly, and I chose them because they're pink, and you have pink in your shirt, and I think they're going to be so warm. You want to feel them. Just don't you want to take your pajamas? And that's when she leaned in and she quietly asked me, Miss, what are pajamas? And
Oh,
that just paralyzed me. That just
what a
shocked me. It was.
heartbreaking moment.
It was.
Yeah.
I couldn't conceive of the question. I remember I looked up at the caregiver standing with her, and she mouthed to me, she doesn't know what pajamas are. And because she knew I was puzzled, I couldn't even think a child would ask me that. And it was shocking. It just shocked me. And I know that's when everything changed in my heart, in my, even, in my head. And it, even though I knew it was unfathomable how I could change my life so dramatically, I started to. And it
Mm.
was my heart pushing me in this direction. And I was not resisting as much as my head was trying to get me to resist.
Yeah. Would you say that gave you purpose and strength then?
It did. It did. I didn't know the word purpose really. I always thought purpose was for famous people who had something big to give the world, and the rest of us were just lucky if we had a job we liked. But
Yeah.
I came to understand purpose. I came to understand that
Mm.
we all have purpose, whether we realize it or not. And thankfully now more people are, and that it comes from your heart, and that it's this invisible pull that makes you feel whole. That you don't realize that there's a piece missing when you're just working at a job. Now more people are, since COVID, people are understanding fulfillment more than we ever did before. But
Yeah.
I learned it slowly.
That's interesting because one of my questions was, where do you think fulfillment comes from? And this would be the answer, right?
Hmm.
That passion, that feeling, that reason for which you feel like a superhero. Like you had so much against you, ahead of you. So many things were unknown, and you were like, I am going to take this leap of faith, right?
Yes, yes, but it's not easy. And I try in my book and when I speak, to be real, to say it was very frightening. I had a lot of sleepless nights. I cried a lot. I worried a lot. I got into financial debt, like ridiculous, just because I wanted to do this. It was calling me. These faces, this little girl, her question. I just couldn't, take it slow. There was something in me. And I do thank God every day that it worked out, because it could have been a disaster, at least more of a disaster than the little disasters that I had to experience along the way.
Yeah. And after going through all of that and getting to this point of your life, do you regret it at all? Do you regret making that choice?
No, never, not for a minute. I do teach and try to inspire because of a lot of the lessons I learned. Because of what we talked about before, how I didn't want to tell people because it was embarrassing, and they would say, "Are you crazy? How are you going to pay your rent?" And I had no answer. Your mortgage. I had no
Yeah.
answer. So I didn't tell people. And I think if I had started to tell people and ask for help earlier, then
Mhm.
it would have been easier financially. I would have had some support, but this was me all by myself in my head and in my heart, tossing and turning, trying to figure out why I was waking up and going to the office when I really wanted to go in this direction, and I was fighting myself, and I felt alone.
Yes, this was your heart all the way pushing you through it. And
Yeah.
so this moment happened. The girl said that your heart is broken because you've never heard this before. You're shocked. And then you are going to choose to take this next step. But how did that happen? Because at that point, I'm assuming you had an idea of what you could help with, but how did you get from that feeling of wanting to help all the way to forming a nonprofit?
Well, that's when I met my husband, and I figured I better see. At first, I had told a girlfriend a little bit about what I wanted to do, and she was also a successful businesswoman. And I thought she'd be supportive, and she wasn't. She was one of the
Oh.
people I feared I'd meet. She said, "Are you crazy? Why would you do this? You've worked so hard. How are you going to pay your mortgage? Why can't you just do that on Saturday?" And it was like all these questions. I had no answers. I was just hoping she would say, "Oh, that's so nice. I'll help you." But that set me back from talking about it again to anybody until I met the man who I eventually married. And I figured, let me tell him what I'm thinking, because he's going to think I'm, a professional with a salary. And if we get serious, we'll be a 2-income family. And I don't see how that's going to be the case now. So I said, I met this little girl, and this is what I'm thinking about doing. And he said, "I think you should go for it." So at least
Oh,
I knew there was one person that wasn't going to think I was crazy. And so we stayed together, and he was wonderfully supportive. Um, we still struggled financially because it still wasn't enough. Plus, I was running up a lot of debt because of what I was buying. But
yeah.
I wanted to just keep going. And the moment that see, I never knew how to start a nonprofit. I never even knew it was going to be a nonprofit until a local woman who worked for a national magazine, asked me if she could write a small article in her magazine because she thought it was so nice. I said, sure. She did. And thousands and thousands and thousands of people sent pajamas, books, and money to me. You could find my address
Wow.
at the time. And that was a huge deal, because I had the little apartment, and boxes and boxes were coming, and the people in the building were screaming at me, what are all these boxes in the hall? I mean, it was a shock, and it was a mess. However,
Yeah.
when we got everything into my little apartment, and we started opening the boxes and opening the letters, one of the letters said, from a company, "If you send us your 501c3, we'd like to send you a grant." And I said to my new husband, "What is this thing, 501c3?" And he didn't know. And I had to find out that that's how it's what you file if you want to have a, formal nonprofit. And that's when I started to ask the right questions of, find an attorney I knew. I couldn't pay for anything because I had run up all the bills on pajamas and, and everything. And that's how I realized that all these people now wanted to help, but it also was such a responsibility. They trusted me. So I had to now make this a real thing, a
Wow.
legitimate organization. So I went through all of those, all those steps. And that's
Steps.
literally why and how at that moment I knew things were going to change.
What I think is very beautiful is that your husband all of a sudden said, I think you should go for it.
Yeah. First
And
months.
that, yeah, and what that means, or the subtext of that can be, I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
And, when everyone else turns you down and might think you're crazy, if you have that one person that could say anything with a subtext of, I believe in you,
Mm-hmm.
then that might just be the only thing you need to feel so powerful that you can overcome anything,
Yes. At
to
least
build your business or do anything in general.
that's right.
And at this point, where you, when you were going to open your nonprofit, were you still working
I
with
started to
the
work
television?
part-time, which was also a little scary because I had to ask my bosses if I could do that. And then it worked for a little while. And then I took on odd jobs because I couldn't stay with the company. So it was really touch and go, you know, bills, piled up and, credit card was taken away and all that kind of thing because it wasn't a steady income. I couldn't make all the bills. And of course, my priority was getting pajamas and, and books to the kids. And even at the, the sale prices, um, I, I went crazy to try to get as many as I could all the time and go see as many shelters as I could all the time. So I wasn't, very financially responsible.
Yeah. How many were you getting back then? How
How
many
many?
pajamas were you getting?
Oh, hundreds at a time.
I'm assuming every time it was different, but it was hundreds?
Yeah, I got a lot because I was going to several
Wow.
shelters at the time, and I didn't want, I couldn't, nobody would know how many kids were going to be there and what sizes, boys or girls. So I had always felt like I had to get more than enough so no child would be without. I could not imagine being there and not having a pair for one child because I didn't have the right size, So I overdid it. And then when I saw that there was a sale, I figured, oh, I might as well just stock up. And I just, I was a little obsessed. Let's say that. And then I started sending
Good,
them,
good,
out of state and going to the post office.
good for the kids. Good for the kids.
Yeah,
It's amazing to be able to sleep comfy.
yeah.
But
It's
not only
love.
that, it's just the love.
That's right.
It's the love that you receive. It's
That's what was
not so much
in
that
their lives.
you're comfortable, but also it feels like someone cares for you,
Yes,
and
yes,
you're kind of walking or wearing a different lifestyle. That's
yes,
the gift of a different lifestyle. That
yeah.
is
Big,
beautiful.
big arms around you.
Uh,
You have warm, fuzzy pajamas.
that's amazing. And what are the roadblocks that you run into, or you'd say the most challenging things when you're putting together or running a nonprofit organization?
There's Well, for any entrepreneur, I think unless you are a millionaire or you have, you know, unlimited funding, we all find ourselves strapped for as much for the cash that we need. I think that's pretty common and definitely in nonprofit work. And there are expenses. There are certainly expenses, and there are a lot of legal requirements. There are a lot of budgetary restraints, and until you can find the people who want to support you, you're on your own,
Yeah.
and so most of us, I think, who are following our heart for a career in business or nonprofit are willing to take, to take less. because we put those that we're serving or something ahead of taking care of ourselves. And I know that with a lot of nonprofits, and I mentor and coach a lot of them. And, most of us will put that first before we'll take care of our bills. And that's wrong, but it's common. And I understand
Yeah,
it.
because it's a full-time business that you have to run, and like you said, you have to let the government know that basically every step that you're taking,
Yes.
right? Because you're not paying taxes, so it's a little more work that you have to do. It's not just opening it up.
Yeah, it's a learning
Would
experience.
would you suggest maybe if you're planning on opening a nonprofit to go work for a little bit for one to kind of understand and learn for those people that
Mhm.
do want to take that step?
That's one way. A lot of people do. A lot of people do volunteer or work for a salary and then decide that that's the world they want to live in, and they have an idea that's, different, and they want to create their own nonprofit. Yes, that's definitely a route I see. A lot of people volunteer. A lot of people volunteer, and then when they retire or they retire early from their career that was more business, I wouldn't say more of a business, more of a job to them, they want to start a nonprofit because
Yeah.
their heart is looking for more fulfillment and more emotion, and definitely get a lot of emotion when you're working in nonprofit. Emotion
Yeah.
overload.
Do you think that do you think that it's, I mean, I'm assuming it is a little bit easier now to be able to contact people that might be interested in helping you move forward with your nonprofit because of technology, because of social media?
Um, yes, as I said, I don't run it now, but Jamie and the team definitely have a lot of resources, including social media. Um, I used it too, before I passed the baton 3 years ago. You learn where your audience is, you learn who, who supports your niche, you learn who supports animals, who supports some kind of a disease, who supports this or that. And then you can sort of make your way where you find your supporters. And that's a skill that I had to learn. That's something, because
Yeah.
you spend a lot of time hoping everybody's going to give you a check, but that's not the case. But when you find your audience,
Your
then
niche.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing, because it's like you speak the same language and they want to be involved because they have some kind of a normal, it feels normal to them to want to reach out to you because they share this passion in some way with you. So it takes some work to find where you belong, so to speak, but it's worth it.
Yeah, no, definitely, most definitely. And you had the experience of transitioning from a full paid job into going into this nonprofit, which must have been shocking. And then you choose to transition into everything else, which is a speaker and a coach. How did that happen? And how is it that you actually took this step?
Well, over those 20 years when I was running the day to day, I was speaking a lot because people were interested in how this idea came to, to come to fruition, and they wanted to hear more about the little girl and the work. And so I would speak to raise money, and people wanted to hear the story. And some people were telling me it was inspiring. And had, I had this feeling in me that I could do a lot of good if I would continue to inspire other people, if I
Mm.
felt that we had a good group running pajama program, growing pajama program, that they would take care of that, and I could try to inspire other people to listen to their heart. Because once you do that, and once you discover your purpose, everything changes. We connect with each other so much better, so much more. Um, we're heart driven. We care about each other. We have compassion. There are so many ways that we can get things done and help and make a difference in the world when we're leading from our hearts. And I wanted to be an example of that. And I wanted to inspire people and let them know it's not crazy if they want to make a change. And I'll be a cheerleader for them. And, I understand that it's hard. I understand that it's not something that, you can do in a day, but it's worth it. And I want to show them that you can do this, that we can do this together, and that there are people, I call it the human connection. There are people that will find you because you're on the same, energy level. You're talking the same language, and it's very different than working in a job.
Yeah. And so you said, I am going to do this. I am going to multiply my outcome, I would say, because you're already giving by having formed this nonprofit. And now you're multiplying this by sharing the story, by empowering people, by helping people move to the next level.
That's my dream. That's my hope, to reach more people on in a place where they can make decisions and and be a voice that moves the world too.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so most people that I've met, most people that I've interviewed, the biggest thing that gets in our way to be able to go here, go there, take the next step, or take that leap of faith is fear. So, you as a coach, what would you suggest? What would you say is a good way to approach fear, or to see fear from a different lens? What would you tell us about fear?
Right. Well, first make peace with it. There's going to be fear. There's going to be from different places, in you. People who care about you will be afraid for you. You'll feel that. You'll make mistakes. It's not easy. All of that is scary. But if you know that you're not alone, and that there's someone there who has told you as much about the fear that about what you're going through, because they've gone through it, it helps some. So you're not alone. That's the first thing that I want people to understand. Fear is natural. You're changing something. You're changing something not just in your world, but in your body, in yourself. You're changing what you were doing. You're changing what you thought was the right thing. You're changing what you thought was a responsible thing. You're changing what other people think of you. You're changing what you think of you. And you feel like you're not that whole person. You feel like you're separated and nothing's together. You're not a gelled person, that you're coming apart at the seams. That's what it feels like. And that's what's happening. But just like anything, you rebuild stronger. But that is a scary time. So I think if you understand why it's scary, and you have people around you, starting with your coach or your mentor or one person, and I try to be that person to support them, I teach them how to get more support and how to feel that this is as normal as you can make it feel, and get them to the other side. Because once you start getting to the other side of all your fears, it gets a little easier. So it's mostly the fear at the beginning of considering such a change. And that's what stops people, that early fear of coming apart at the seams because they're changing so much. That's
very powerful.
At the beginning.
I heard that someone said, listen, fear, this person talked to their fear and said, I'm going to go. Whether you're coming with me or not, I'm going. So if you want to join, let's go.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this. And that's basically what you're saying. You have a coach telling you, hey, you can do it. But you're saying, hey, the fear is going to be there. That's not going to go away because you're changing so many things. And it's not only the people that know you, the ones that are going to tell you things, but it's also your own self that's getting in the way, that's making you feel more fear.
Right.
And it's nice to be able to say, I'm moving forward with or without you, fear.
Well, your
Right?
head is the one that's telling you that there's fear ahead. Your heart is the one that's telling you it's okay. But we are so used to listening to our head that that's louder and that's making us afraid. If we stop, the reason that we're feeling the fear is because our heart is telling us this is wrong. You got to get off this path. Go over there. It's nicer over there for you. It's better. That's where you're supposed to be. But your head is screaming at you, this is scary. Don't do it. And what happens is if you keep following your heart, your head sort of says, well, I tried. She's not listening to me. And I'm really smart, so I'm going to help her. I guess I have to help her. And then all of a sudden you start to get answers and they start to, come together as a partnership. And then at some point your heart just leads and your brain's following.
I love it. I love it because this goes back to also if you have a reason, if you have a why, then it's a little bit easier for your heart to be the one that's leading. And I've heard some people say, I don't have a real purpose. I'm a little lost. I don't know what my purpose is. What would be a recommendation to find your way to find purpose?
Well, on my website, I do have an exercise that I ask people to do if I'm working with them or anybody wants to. So it's on my website, GenevievePituro.com, an exercise to help you find your purpose. It's there on the top.
Nice.
So take that exercise, do that 90 minutes alone, quietly with pen and paper, and you'll get some ideas. I think a lot of people know the area that their purpose is in, but I think a lot of things stop them. How am I going to make money doing it? Because I love to sing and I'm not Adele. I really want to work with animals and always wanted to be a vet, but I'm a CPA and I have responsibilities. That's just a pipe dream. Or maybe I'll do that when I retire and I save enough money and the kids are out. So I think a lot of those reasons and they're legitimate reasons and responsibilities keep people from moving forward when they actually do know what they're meant to do. They just think they're not good enough, or they compare themselves to others who are doing that and have a jump start. So, and of course there are people who have no clue where their heart would be happiest, to work. And so I think the exercise might help at least get some people to think about the area that feels that that's where they were meant to be.
Yeah, to be a little bit closer. And sometimes people do feel or think that they have a purpose and think they're fulfilled, and then something else happens, which is what happened to you.
Yeah.
A major event happens that really changes your life, the way you see things, the way you feel, and that's amazing as well. And do you actually believe in manifestation?
Absolutely. I believe it's energy. I believe we're connected by energy. We're connected to our desires. We're connected with our attitude and our beliefs. Some of it's deep. It's how you believe, what you believe about yourself, how you were raised. And we have to sometimes work on that. A lot of us feel, we're not worthy of this or that, or, we hear voices in our head from when we were children. But there's a lot of work now that we can do, spiritual work and, everything from meditation to just affirmations. There are so many ways to find peace and find that clear path to knowing what we want, feeling that we can attract it And I think if we are doing good and we're on purpose with our lives, that we manifest what's needed when it's needed.
Mm. Yeah. Do you actually have a ritual in the mornings at the beginning of the day?
I
Anything
do.
that
I do.
sets your day up?
Yes, I
What's your
do.
ritual like?
Yes. Everything from I am attracting supportive people to my life every day in every way. Only good things come my way. Um, a lot of the financial money affirmations I learned
Mm.
when we were desperate for money to keep pajama program going. Every day I attract abundance in every way. So many things. And, everything from self-confidence, I am beautiful and everybody loves me. I am
Mm.
brilliant and I can find an answer when I need it. So
Yeah.
many things.
So
Meditation.
affirmations are definitely a
Yeah.
good morning ritual. As soon as you get up, is this something you do very early in the morning
Oh,
or
yes.
whenever you
Oh, yes.
need it?
Yes. Very, very early. I write them. I say them. I listen to them. Um, I meditate. Yeah. There's a lot. There's a lot. I have a vision board. So I look
I
at
love
that
it.
first thing in the morning when I get into my office, put it up, and I look at it all day. And then some of it is affirmations, some of it are pictures of what I want. Yeah, but it all works. It all works. I say I'm ready for all good surprises today. Yeah.
I love it. Love it. And what is your dream now?
Um, I want to reach as many people as I possibly can in my speaking engagements to inspire them. So the more speaking engagements that I can book, the more people I can share the message with and support. And that's my goal, to do that. And I'll write another book too.
Another book in the works.
Yes.
So the previous one, again, is to help people that are putting a nonprofit together so that they don't have to go through these steps.
Mhm.
Can we tell our audience what this new book is about, or are you keeping it on the DL?
No, I'm not sure yet, because I do a lot on human connection and how important it is and how it's helped me and how I believe it helps everybody who finds their purpose. That's the next step, human connection. I also just give a TEDx talk, which I'm wearing my TEDx shirt. On
Yeah.
how do you become a voice that moves the world? So that there's something in there that I want the book to also include. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's still brewing.
Nice. I'm gonna also include obviously the links to the
Okay.
books, the TED Talk, and everything to the YouTube video. What are the things or the thing that you had to quit in order to become the you today?
I had to quit stopping. I had to quit thinking that it was too big for me to do.
Mm.
I had to change my mindset. That's the number one thing I think we all have to change when we want to do something. I think we all have to start there, believing in ourselves, asking for support. That's what I really had to quit. The job, the idea of going to an office every day, that's easy to quit. It's not so easy to quit your self limitations and your negative self talk. And I'm still learning that. I'm still learning, just like we were talking about every morning, still learning that that's the most important thing to quit, being your own worst enemy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that when you when I hear your story and people hear your story, it's gonna last. This is gonna be an hour podcast, but so many things seem to have happened throughout your journey, and you've had to have so much power to be able to push through it. and quit so much to become the person that you are now. And that is very inspiring. So I thank you for sharing this with us. And I'm grateful that there are people out there like yourself that are helping others, again, inspiring others, and helping the younger generation, the younger part of this generation, because that's the future of this world. It's children that are the ones that are going to be receiving this and, making it better, hopefully.
Well,
So
thank you. But I want to share one thing because I always heard, look at the power of one person. Look what one person can do. And people would point to people and I would say, yeah, wow, look at that person. They did that. They did that. And then people would say to me, look what you did, one person. And I learned very quickly, and I share it, and I want to share it with you and your listeners, that it is not the power of one that changes things. It's the power of one another that moves mountains and moves people. And that's the way to get things done. Anything, not just nonprofit. That's how to get things done. So I'll leave you with that. And I hope that people will think about that and, and embrace it.
yeah, definitely. And it's amazing to see how you being at this place where you've already experienced it. And we just talked about attracting. If you put it out there, if you say, I'm going to take this leap of faith, I'm going to open this business, I'm going to open this nonprofit, then maybe the next thing that happens is, if you believe in yourself, even when you're scared, if you push through, you'll just attract the right people that will connect with you and will be able to take this to the next level.
That's how it works.
That's the idea. Thank you so much for gifting us with your time. And I look forward to reading the next book as well.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Invitations, Erin.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching this episode. My name is Sarah Nunez. I am your host, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.